Welcome back to Nerd Happening Podcast. Don't want to forget that part.
Nerd happening.
Yeah. Might want to start doing your own radio thing.
Yeah, put on your radio voice. Come on. We
All
all
right.
have one.
If I ever commission an intro, I'll let you do the opening part for it.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I need the voice work.
Yeah. Put you in the credits and all that.
So what's the topic?
All right. Well, I guess Star Trek versus Star Wars. Where would you rather live?
What universe would you rather live in?
Yeah. As both a main character and just rando in the universe.
I think Star Trek. I
Yeah?
think I would rather live in Star Trek.
Maybe.
Because it
Yeah,
seems
probably.
like all of the fighting is done. The Empire has already taken over with the Federation. The Federation controls everything. So there's no real... Now it's all just getting everybody else under Federation rule.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, like with the Cardassians and stuff, they still have skirmishes with them.
Right. But that's
and the Romulans.
It's not like rebel fighting in Star Wars. It's not
No.
there's...
Well, they've already been through all that with the Klingons and
Exactly. That's
and
what I'm
everybody.
saying. It's all settled down.
for now.
Everybody... I don't know. The Federation has a pretty good grip on everything.
I don't know. They were struggling against the Dominion.
I don't know which one.
That's from Deep Space Nine.
Oh, yeah.
With Odo's,
Well, yeah, but they're
Odo's
on
people.
the outskirts. Deep Space Nine is on the outskirts of the Federation.
That's true,
So, yeah,
but it can
on
make its
the
way in.
outskirts, you're going to have little pockets of rebellion as people become assimilated. Because the Federation and the Borg, the reason the Federation hates the Borg, in my opinion, is that the Borg is doing exactly what the Federation does.
Pretty much, but more by force than diplomatic
Do you
stuff.
really have a choice?
Oh, you
Do you
do.
really think that the Federation allows
You have a choice.
people to have choices?
You have a choice, but it's not the good choice. It's not the best choice for you.
I mean,
As far as
how is that a choice? That's like saying you have a choice not to work in America.
Yeah,
but it's
that's what I'm
gonna be
saying.
Pretty crappy.
It's not a good choice. I'm saying it's like
is
a
it really a choice?
It's kind of a protection racket. Unless you can unless you can protect yourself. It's kind of join the Federation, or hey, the Romulans might stop
Well,
by.
just let people attack you until you no longer exist.
Yeah, that's true. That's kind of what I'm saying.
But at least from what I can tell, much less slavery in Star Trek.
There's a lot of allegory to it, and there's a lot of
Yeah, but it's on like individual planets, not empire-wide.
pretty much. I mean, I guess unless you consider like the holograms, like in Voyager, when the news got back to all the old Doctor holograms, he's like the first version, and they were all just slaves in a mine, and they saw him rising up above them. They thought they could do better.
Right.
I mean, is artificial intelligence being enslaved, just like the droids. Is that slavery?
Yeah, that one's tough because if they're designed for a purpose.
But they weren't. They were converted.
What do you mean?
Because they were originally medical holograms, and they were just converted to be miners for like dilithium or whatever.
Oh, yeah. But that's, I mean, like I said, individual planets, not galaxy-wide, not universe-wide.
I'd assume probably the Cardassians have slaves. They definitely do. Romulans probably don't.
Right.
Because they're more
Klingons
like
probably do.
They probably have slaves as far as like. I don't think they go to war with their slaves. I think they just do menial tasks.
Right. Another good thing about Star Trek universe versus Star Wars universe, food. If you're in the Federation, you get replicators and transporters and above light speed travel relatively easily.
Yeah, it is much easier.
Right? I mean, we don't see any replicators in the Star Wars universe.
No, they don't have that matter conversion.
Right? So you still have to get your food
from farms or
we
whatever.
do.
Yeah. Grow it or raise it.
Grow it or raise it or hunt it or what have you.
That's true.
And money is much less of a thing in the Star Trek universe.
Only if you're in the Federation, though. When you start going outside of that,
I think that you are confusing that. I'm in the Federation.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
not
saying
going
no,
to
no, no.
be
I know.
outside of the Federation.
I know. Well, unless you were on Voyager.
I mean, as
Starship
long as we're
Voyager.
not a red shirt, that. As long as you're not a red shirt in the Federation, you should be up pretty all right.
For the most part, yeah.
I mean, and personally, I think the Federation hides how often red shirts die.
Oh, 100%.
I think that it's all just kind of swept under the rug, and what is a famous quote from like Genghis Khan or somebody? One death is a tragedy, but 1,000,000 deaths is a statistic. Stalin. That's who said it.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. So 1,000,000 red shirts dying. It's a statistic. Like,
Oh, you're on the galaxy. Stuff's dangerous.
yeah, exactly. It's just, hey, he was an idiot. You know,
Shouldn't have touched
how
that
can
goo.
how can we get our training up better so that we stop losing so many privates?
Yeah. All the lower level people.
I mean, it's just.
Feel like as long as you're not a red shirt and you stay on Earth, you're good.
I think even if you travel quite a bit, you're good. Like as long as you are, because the only travel we see in Star Trek is battleships traveling.
Well,
We don't really spend a lot of time on the obvious
Not a whole
cruise
lot.
ships that would exist and the vacation spots that would exist and the
Except Risa.
various leisure activities that would exist or public transportation. I mean, I'm sure the Federation would have amazing public transportation between the various planets.
yeah. I feel like on planet by planet, you wouldn't need it. You would just teleport somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure on planet, traveling would be relatively easy and cheap, especially with teleporters existing and shuttles. And I mean, whenever they go back to Earth to the Federation, we see people walking around the facility, the campus. But outside of the campus, it's
You don't really see a whole lot of the cities.
Yeah, but in the background, you can kind of see some
Yeah,
ships
yeah.
coming in, that kind of thing. I mean, you're not going to be on a land speeder dodging sandworms
No.
in the Star Trek universe.
No, there's more untamed. Well, you see more untamed worlds and Wild West style, which is what Star Wars really is.
Now, negatives of the Federation, very boring. Like, your life would be very mundane.
That's why people go into Starfleet.
Exactly. Is I need something different. Like, my life is too easy.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, that could be negative. One of the things I have saw is, like, for example, on the holodecks, and whenever we hear music or see holodecks being used or people appreciating art in any form, it's all from, like, the early to mid 19th century. Like, we don't see
Yeah, I've
any
heard
new
this
plays.
before. I think that's more copyright than anything.
It might be.
It's all that's public domain.
It might be, but we don't really hear anybody, like, if there's no motivation to do anything, if money is not, or bettering yourself, or whatever it is that can cause
There's no
people
catalyst
to do stuff,
for
there's
creativity.
no catalyst for anything to be made, right? I mean, if you've got if a replicator can make any type of food, then it can probably make anything at all.
Pretty much anything that you program it to. I mean, it can't make new ideas, but it can make
If we have
things for
AI as advanced as the med doctors and data and the ship's computer, right? Then why wouldn't we put it in the replicator also?
I guess they would. It's never been shown, but they didn't think that far ahead when they were making
Why
this.
don't they, like, that's one of the things, like, why doesn't every single space battle end with somebody from one ship transporting onto the other ship, teleporting onto the other ship, getting to their replicator area and making a bomb with their replicator and then leaving?
Or just teleporting a bomb on there.
Or just teleporting. Like,
Yeah,
do the shields block that?
they do. They do. Yeah, that's
To an
transport.
extent.
Transport doesn't work with the shields are up.
to an extent. Like, what happens when your shields are at 20%? Can some stuff get through in certain spots?
Like a lot of it, sometimes, like if like somebody's, they've had episodes where people have been off ship and they use some kind of like narrow band thing where they know there's a weak spot in their particular ship or something like that to teleport.
I mean, look at the reboot movie with J.J. Abrams where Scotty
not.
figured out
transdimensional, or transwarp teleportation, something.
Right?
Yeah,
like that would work. Like, there you go. Like, that's like the light ship crash in the newest, or in the
I hated that. Yeah, I know.
second Star Wars
Rise
movie.
Rise of
Jedi.
No, not right.
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Yeah, like.
Was it? No, it was The Last Jedi.
Last Jedi was the first one, wasn't it?
No, it was. It's
Just look it up real quick.
I don't know why I have such a trouble with the
Oh, so do
ones. Yeah, that's not right. I know it's a new. What is this movie called? Oh, man. Oh, that's Star Trek. Never mind. Why does it not just list the movies like this? Okay. Rise of Skywalker, Last Jedi was the second one, and the first one's Force Awakens.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Force Awakens. I don't know why I have such a hard time remembering that.
I have a horrible time. I can barely remember the prequels. I just call them the prequels.
I love and like parts of the prequels, but I hate them overall.
There's some good ideas in there.
I love Darth Maul.
Yeah.
He's great.
Oh, yeah. Darth Maul should have definitely gotten more screen time. And
Yes.
the Clone Wars TV show fixed that.
Yes, it did. I love Duel of the Fates. I love the score in it, and I love the saber fights.
I hate the hairstyles on the Jedis.
Yeah, it's not
I'm
great.
not going to lie. I kind of hate, what's his name? Obi-Wan's mentor.
Qui-Gon Jinn?
Yeah. I kind of don't like him much.
That's kind of, he's supposed to represent kind of Jesus, I think. Fighting the devil, literally.
He seems a little racist.
How's that racist?
Like, he definitely treats the lower classes in the lower forms, like what he considers the lowest forms, like Jar Jar.
Oh, yeah.
And his people, like idiots.
Yeah, that's the Jedi, is they're overconfident and they're arrogant. That they know they're better because they have the Force.
Is that what it is?
That's a lot of it.
Yeah. Well, he pulls that off to a T in that movie.
Remember in when they come to Mace Windu and all the other elders, they're like, a Sith? No, we would know if they were around. They have such an arrogance because they're clouded by their own superiority.
But this is why I would not be in the Star Wars universe if I was a normal person.
Unless I was a very wealthy, powerful individual.
Even then, I would have to, like, if I have the choice, Star Trek. Because even if you're going to be wealthy in the Star Wars universe, you have to, like, work for the Empire. You have to be part of the slave trade or something like that. Deal in children and crap. And I'm not good with it. If I could just, like, deal in the slavery of Ewoks, I would be all right with that. Like, I have no problem.
Yeah, they're not my favorite part.
With Ewoks being enslaved. They kind of deserve it.
A little bit. They wanted them to be Wookiees originally.
But that's part of the problem with Star Wars. Like, the Empire doesn't share their technology with anybody. They keep it for themselves. They don't. They just spread their oppression. They don't spread their advancements. And that's why the Star Wars universe is such a wreck, I think, when it comes to the average individuals.
And a lot of it is just conquering.
Yeah, but they're conquering for the sake of conquering. At least in Star Trek, like, they have it hidden that they're conquering for exploration, and it's like purely propaganda. The Federation has got their propaganda on lock.
It's true.
And the Emperor is apparently horrible at it.
I wonder if there isn't really an emperor to all of Star Trek. If it's just not a group of people.
Oh, I'm sure
it's like a higher council.
Like, if you really delved into it, I'm sure that Star Trek is, like, secretly fascist authoritarian.
I mean, it kind of is. They hint a lot of that in a few of the episodes where they uncover some really corrupt government stuff.
Part of it is that whenever we get above, like, ship captain, whenever we get to see an admiral or deal with anybody on the high councils and da-da-da, they're all corrupt, they're all evil, or they're idiots. And if that is not a sign of an authoritarian run government, I don't know what is. Like Picard would probably never honestly get to admiral because he's too good.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the ship captains and Kirk to me really prove this. They don't want to be admirals, not necessarily because of that, but they love the exploration.
Well, not. Probably they probably just tell people they love the exploration, and then really they go, I see how easily corrupted these individuals are. I don't want to be corrupted.
Well, every time
I'm kind of good being away from all of this, out in the middle of nowhere, banging space chicks, eating funky food.
Well, every time they're around other admirals or whatever, they're like always like, I miss being on the. I miss.
Well,
being
yeah,
on
that's how Kirk came back.
Yeah.
After becoming an admiral. And what was that? Star Trek the movie 3, third or fourth movie?
They kind of hint at it in number 1 when he's an admiral and he's on the maiden voyage of the first one, and then he just takes over.
Yep.
And he's like, I'm captain. Let's do this. And he's like, oh, you really wanted just to be in the captain seat again.
I think he just really likes like the sense of family and community that probably exists on a battleship.
Yeah.
And a Star Destroyer or whatever.
A Star Destroyer, yeah.
I mean, really, you don't think that they have the technology to destroy stars?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
On an Enterprise type ship?
I wonder if well, Star Destroyers can't really destroy stars. I think that's just their, like, designation. Like, just a name. They have.
Why would they get the name?
They have powerful destructive capabilities, but.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, because we didn't really get anything that destroyed a star until The Force Awakens.
I guess, yeah.
Because, like, the Death Star just destroyed planets.
It could probably, well, I don't know. It might be able to disrupt a star.
In The Last Jedi, or The Force Awakens, it was
that leached
a
off.
ship that used a star's energy to destroy a galaxy of planets.
Yeah,
correct?
it wasn't a galaxy, it was like a solar system.
Like the energy source of
the
ship, which, when you're done with it, destroys a star. I mean, the star's gone.
Maybe just the core, or that's about it
but
left.
Why would they need that when they could just build some kamikaze ships that travel at light speed and crash them into whatever they want?
I hate that so much. That was the dumbest thing.
That's
not how hyperspace works either.
I get why the idea exists. Like, last-ditch effort, there's nothing else to be done. They have to come up with something.
They could have done it better, though. What they could have done is, well, hyperspace is supposed to be you slip into another dimension, effectively, ride through tunnels that are kind of naturally occurring, then pop out.
Is that hyperspace or warp speed?
That's hyperspace. Warp speed is a bubble that goes around you, pulls space in front of you, and pushes space behind you. Well, hyperspace was originally just you kind of slip into the hyperspace dimension and travel quickly and pop out. What they could have done is have her go into hyperspace, she's gone, pop out, and the thing could have self-destructed.
I think that's what they kind of want to do. Because we don't really see...
We see her pop out, and she's supposed to be going
so
fast.
It's such a short distance.
Yeah.
I agree. It doesn't make sense. I don't really like it.
And it should have been Admiral Akbar.
Oh, yeah.
He should have went, it's a... And then popped down and been like, trap out.
Yep. Yeah, because why wouldn't you just hide little ships behind planets, and whenever the Empire came into range, just pop out with them and destroy it. And just make kamikazes.
Or even just have missiles with that technology.
Astro droids. You could just have astro droids pilot the ships, no humans involved. Make them really dumb so they don't have feelings and all all of the stuff that makes droids.
It doesn't even have to be.
An
It could just
issue.
be missiles
Mm-hmm.
with that, and you just aim
Right.
them from the ground. Doesn't even have to be a ship.
Right.
Yeah, that's definitely a big plot hole. It's terrible.
Yeah. Oh, have you seen the latest one?
Yeah,
That just makes it worse.
that was
Such a disappointment.
hot garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Hot garbage.
I agree. And a couple of changes I think would have made it better.
I don't know.
But I don't know.
There's a whole there's a whole podcast of me going over what I think they should have done.
Mm-hmm. Well, not just that, but also, I mean, like I think if they're going to do another movie, they have to do a Sith movie.
They should do a Back to Old Republic
Mm-hmm.
with like Darth Revan or Darth Bane or something.
I mean, they need a movie or two of how does a Sith become a Sith and what are the traditions and all, because we know all of this stuff about Jedis and hardly anything about the Sith. I mean, they kind of tried to do it with Anakin's rise, but
that's kind of all every Sith story.
But all he does is we just see his corruption. We don't see what happens after his corruption.
Yeah, it's
and
called A New
his
Hope.
rise to becoming a Sith Lord. He is a Sith Lord at the beginning of A New Hope. So what happens in between those? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because they did that with books and games.
Oh yeah, and that's
stuff.
what I'm saying.
But that's
is
all
some
gone
of the
now.
best comics, some of the best good books are about the Sith Lords and the Sith. All this. There's so much great stuff in there that they could pull into the movie universe and make the movies 100% better.
And they should do that, like the older stuff, Legacy or Legend stuff had like a planet of Sith, and
Right. Yeah.
like they trained them like the Jedi's, and they had academies, but they were so cutthroat,
Yeah,
and that would be great to have.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, how did we get the rule of two? And this is why.
I know in the
And how did we get da 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 da?
Yeah, in the Legends, my buddy Lewis at work was telling me about it. They were so cutthroat, they were killing each other, and they were becoming weaker.
Right,
And they
because of it.
Yeah, they just decided, just two, and they killed everybody but two people.
Yep.
So they could concentrate their force power more.
Right. And does that happen with the Jedi? Right.
I mean,
so after Order
unintentionally, yeah.
after Order 66, right, where they killed all the Jedi except for a few of them, are the Jedi that remained now stronger because of it?
See, I don't
Wow,
know.
we are getting way in the weeds on this.
I know. I don't know about that because to me, the Force is just, even they say it's just an energy field. And just because you're light or dark doesn't make it weaker or stronger,
Well,
because there's still other Force-sensitive people out there.
I mean, obviously, the Sith figured out that if we don't spread it out so much, it's more concentrated.
Yeah, they could pull more from it. But that's
Right.
also Sidious because he is so powerful. He could pull from it because he's so naturally powerful.
Right. And that's what I'm saying is that's kind of the story we got with Luke, is that he's so powerful,
Yeah.
you know. So is it the same kind? Is it a natural talent?
Yeah, it's midichlorians and all that garbage. I know, I hate that. But that's the official.
I know that's the official midichlorians.
canon.
Bacteria that live in us. Da, 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 da. Can you give the bacteria to somebody else then and make them force sensitive or whatever?
I always wondered that. I would assume you could do an infusion.
Yeah, like if you get a blood transfusion from a Jedi, do you become a Jedi?
I don't think so. I think it's like antibodies. They eventually go away.
I'm just saying. I mean,
I feel like for a short
because in
period
the-
you'd have it.
Shoot, what's the one about the getting the Death Star plans?
Rogue One.
Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
There's that beggar dude, the blind dude that's force sensitive, but not quite a Jedi,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, he's force sensitive. That's it.
So obviously he can exist in different forms. How did he become force sensitive? Did he eat
You're born
something
with
that
it.
had the bacteria
No,
on it?
you're born with it. It's just a random
It just
thing.
brings up, the midichlorians brings up too many questions.
It does.
At least
It does.
in Star Trek, I know how I can become a captain.
Mm-hmm.
I know how I can, like, it's very similar to the way we're living now. I think Star Wars for general population is awful.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine walking through the desert and falling into a Sarlacc pit because your ship accidentally crash landed on that planet?
Yeah,
It would be awful. Awful. But if you're going to be a main character, Star Wars is the way to go. Because if you're a main character, you're most likely a Jedi, which means cool powers.
Depending
cool
what
sword.
series you're in.
Yeah.
Might lose a hand, though.
Overall. Like, if you're going to be the chosen one, you're not just some random person that worked their way up the chain. Like, you were born with special abilities, and you're able to do all this cool stuff. I mean,
it's true. Unless you're not a Jedi. Unless you're
a
Han
main
Solo.
character. But even if you're a main character, but you're still a main character, you are either a Jedi or you work closely with Jedi.
You're badass either way.
You are a badass no matter how you slice it.
Unless you're Jar Jar.
Jar Jar was probably the other Sith Lord.
I know. I really wish that would have been like a real
I
thing.
want that retconned.
Yeah.
I want it. He helps Sidious so much.
Yeah.
He has to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they couldn't feel Darth Maul on that planet or whatever.
He's just blocking it.
Yeah. Jar Jar's just blocking it. He's playing the role of an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he's able to take out all of those droid troopers.
Yep.
So easily, is that it's nothing for him because he is so force powerful.
If at the end of Rise of Skywalker,
Oh my gosh, how is this? Sidious is not the is not the Dark Empire in the first two movies. Jar Jar is. And Sidious is able to take over because he defeats Jar Jar.
Jar Jar's Darth
behind the scenes.
Jar Jar's Darth Plagueis.
Or something along those lines. Yes,
Yeah.
something along those lines. Yeah.
I've been
And
great.
that's why there's no moves from the Empire until like halfway through the second movie.
Could be.
Is that he's working behind Jar Jar's back.
Or even like how Snoke was the Emperor's puppet, basically.
Right.
Jar Jar above everything.
And this is what I'm saying. Is that that's how it happens. When Jar Jar is handing over power of the Senate to the Empire, that's when Sidious got the ability to control other people. And he controls Jar Jar during that scene. But up until then, Jar Jar was Darth.
No, I want
Jar
him
Jar.
to be in charge the whole time. And then he put Palpatine there to use him so no one would think it was him.
Oh, so the next movie is killing Jar Jar.
If at the end of Rise of Skywalker, after the Emperor dies, if he would have just come out and like, ooh,
And
Misa, the real Sith, I would have been like,
And
I love this.
End of the series. End of credits. Misa must go to Tatooine to take out Rey.
Kylo dies, Rey becomes evil under Darth. under Darth
Works with Darth Jar Jar.
Yeah,
Darth Jar. Just one. He drops it.
Darth Jar.
He
Dar
did.
Jar.
Darth Jar.
Darth Jar. Darth Binks.
Darth Binks.
I don't know. There's
Kinda
something.
like Darth Jar.
Although Darth Maul is the only character who's Darth and his real name.
Oh yeah, they all have
Some
Made up.
Yeah. Sith name.
edgelord names.
Yeah. Except in A New Hope, Obi-Wan refers to Darth Vader as just Darth. Because I don't think they had that planned out.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
and he's Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of, if you're his best friend and mentor and all that stuff, you kind of get to be like, ugh, a little.
A little bit.
You know, just a little, fucking Darth Vader. I trained him. I'm better.
That reminds me of that meme when he's talking to Luke and it says he was a great pilot, very flammable. That's just funny.
Yeah, wasn't that in a Robot Chicken?
I don't know. I just saw it in a meme. I mean, it makes sense of being a robot
I
chicken.
think it's in one of the Robot Chicken's Star Wars specials that they did.
Yeah, I probably.
I
But
like,
yeah,
The thing that really puts why I would live in the Star Trek universe as a regular character is, gosh, I just had his name. The Eddie, the Europe dude that dresses in women's clothes.
Eddie.
He has a cantina joke that he does about the cantina in Star Wars. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Oh, Eddie Izzard?
Yes.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about somebody in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Or Star Trek. Because I'm like, who? I don't remember anyone named Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie Izzard's cantina scene or joke is why, no, I'm good.
I don't know.
I'm good on being in Star Trek or Star Wars universe as a regular person.
I don't know what it is.
I mean, if you're in Star Wars, what is the likelihood that you die on a giant battleship just doing your job?
Pretty good.
Pretty good, right? At least in Star Trek, I have to volunteer to join the Army or military or whatever you want to call it. Space Force. And I have
Space
to
Force,
put
I
on,
like that.
And I have to pick the red shirt. If I pick any other color shirt, I'm fine. But if I pick the red shirt, I'm done. So at least it's like a kind of chance.
Yeah. That's true, yeah.
And in Star Wars, it's...
There's a good chance, yeah. If you're on whatever Star Destroyer.
You are cannon fodder.
Yep.
Can't even hit anything with a blaster if you're a regular person.
Pretty much, no.
Yeah. Oh, I always hated that. That was one of the things from the first movie that I really, and I mean A New Hope, is when Obi-Wan goes,
Oh, there's...
only
Yeah.
only stormtroopers are
This precise.
this precise. It's like, and then the rest of the movie, they don't hit a single thing.
The theory that they say that they don't hit anything is because they're trying not to kill Leia because she's a high-value target.
Okay.
But after that, yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Once her planet is exploded, that kind of goes out the window.
Yeah, that's true.
And I get that it's Vader's kid and everything,
But he doesn't know that until later.
But I think Sidious would make it okay. I think he would go, like, if you killed Leia, Sidious would be like, okay,
We still got Luke.
we still got Luke.
Or vice versa. And that's basically what they said, too.
I'm really surprised that the Princess Leia being force sensitive or a Jedi hasn't blown up more. I mean, we get a little bit of it in the new trilogy.
Yeah, the Mary Poppins flying back.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
Yeah. I liked how they did it in the game.
I don't which game?
The Unleashed, Star Wars Unleashed, where
Force
you get to
Un-
play
Force
Force
Unleashed?
Unleashed,
Yeah.
where you get to play as
Starkiller?
Starkiller.
Yeah. I played the first one, I think.
One of the DLCs is on the second game is going to Endor while and trying to prevent the shields from being turned off. And you end up fighting Leia at the end. Leia is the other Jedi because Luke is up on the Dark Death Star, and you have to, as Starkiller, as the bad Starkiller, you have to
Try to kill Leia.
try to kill Leia, or at least keep her from turning off the shields.
Okay.
That's the end thing. And it's like a little bit of fan service.
I think with the new Star Wars, they were trying to do the whole kind of Anakin Padme dynamic of one's just a diplomat and one's a Jedi.
Yeah. They definitely tried to make Leia the soul of the resistance.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the rallying point, which makes sense.
I think at the end of the new trilogy, I mean, at least the slate's kind of wiped clean. There's no Skywalkers left. There's no Sidiouses. There's no...
one. There's one. Rey.
Right. And there is one Skywalker with Kylo.
He's dead.
Did he die?
Yeah, he
Gosh,
dies.
see how much I don't remember anything from that movie. I watched it twice. Nothing hangs on.
Yeah, he dies. I'm pretty sure he
except
dies.
for-
I've only seen them all once, and they were horrible. And I'm like, I'm not watching these again.
Yeah. Anyway, so we don't really have any Skywalkers left, and we kind of have a Sidious left.
Who takes the name of Skywalker.
Who takes the name of Skywalker. But I think, like, one of the things in the comics and the books that I really liked when I was younger were the gray Jedi.
Mm-hmm. That's what Ahsoka is, basically.
Yeah, where they can use some dark side stuff and some light side stuff.
They're very balanced.
Mm-hmm. And they don't really follow
any creed of
some sort. They're kind of like monks, almost, where they don't really... Like, they will train with Jedi, and they will train with
Sith or whatever.
Sith, or at least hunt out their teachings.
Mm-hmm.
But
they're kind of like
don't
anti-heroes.
Really hang out with anybody, you know? Which is kind of cool. They're kind of anti-heroes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was going to be a main character in the Star Wars universe, Gray Jedi all the way.
I definitely, especially after watching Mandalorian, I'd want Mandalorian for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The Beskar armor that is lightsaber proof and blaster proof.
Right.
Effectively being Space Batman.
Right.
Yeah. I want to be that.
Yeah.
Space Batman.
But yeah. Space Batman is the way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Space Deadpool. Kind of like
that'd be nice.
Space Wolverine. It's kind of what the Gray Jedi are. Is in that vein. Space Punisher.
Yeah, they're kind of a Space Punisher with laser swords.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I'm totally down for. Yeah.
Which, I mean...
I don't want all the PTSD that goes along with being Punisher, but...
Yeah, no. Not at all.
Yeah. But definitely could do, Space Deathstroke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of what they are.
They're kind of, a lot of them are bounty hunters, but they don't sell themselves as force-sensitive, force-ability bounty hunters.
That would make sense. You wouldn't want to advertise a whole lot of that.
So a lot of them won't even use, or some of them don't even use lightsabers.
Mm-hmm.
Like they use blasters and that kind of, which, oh my gosh, if you could control something in the air, why are you using a lightsaber? Use a blaster that you can kill somebody from a mile away by controlling the projectile in the air. Why are you using a lightsaber?
I think it's more of a
tradition.
Like with Ahsoka, she's so used to it, and it's kind of her comfort.
Right. Well, not only that, I mean, you probably could have something in there about feeling the bullet come near you or the blast come near you. Block it with the saber.
Yeah, it's just
sabers are so hand-wavy.
It's more cinematic. That's all it is. It's theatrics for the movie.
Oh, I understand, but I'm just saying sabers get real hand wavy real quick. Like being able to cut through giant doors with them.
Yeah, that's why if I ever had to fight a Jedi, I would use a regular gun, projectile gun, because you're not deflecting that.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, a Jedi would see if he had the time to react, because bullets obviously move faster because you can see blaster fire.
Right.
If a Jedi could do it, it would hit it, liquefy, and
You think so?
Yeah. I don't. It's just energy. It's not energy deflects energy with the plasma.
Right.
But if it's a projectile, and that you already see when it goes through metal, it liquefies it. It would essentially either be a half liquefied bullet hitting you, or it'd be a splash of molten lava coming onto you. Or if I was somebody from Star Trek,
just force push it away.
If they have the time and reflex to do
it, would just do the
Neo
from the game, from all of the games where you can do the force push in a bubble around you. I think that's all they would do.
Maybe. Also, if I was in Star Trek and I had two phasers, you could easily kill a Jedi. You just do this.
Oh, you don't think
they're continuous beams?
Yeah.
They have one lightsaber. They can only stop one at a time.
Right.
And if they stop to go to that one, it hits you.
Holy crap! That's why Ahsoka and Maul have dual lightsabers. They have to deal with Federation troops.
I guess. I mean, Maul's is double-sided. She has the two sides.
We don't know. They might break in half in the middle.
His can't know.
And later in
I would assume
Clone Wars, he uses two individual lightsabers.
Yeah, because Savage uses the double-sided, and he uses that dark saber, which is sweet. I wish you would watch The Mandalorian so we can talk more about that.
I will. I'll get on it. All right. Sorry, I'm slacking.
Yeah, it's all right.
I'm watching other stuff.
And with with Star Trek with the teleporters, it would be so easy to kill people.
With the teleporters?
Yeah,
Why wouldn't you just teleport a beam?
or just
Like, why wouldn't you shoot your phaser into a teleporter and then teleport right next to the person you want to kill?
no, just pick them up and blast their atoms into space.
Yeah.
You don't even need to do that. You
Yeah.
just all right, they're not alive anymore.
Oh, yeah. Or you could probably shoot a beam through the atmosphere. And we're talking, I mean, these are blasters, so they move at the speed of light, essentially, which is instantaneous.
Effectively, yeah. To us, it is.
No, light is instantaneous. Light does not experience time.
Oh, it doesn't, but it takes
Right?
time to move. To us,
According
it's
to
yeah,
us.
yeah.
Right?
As far as
So-
time and space goes,
According to light from our sun, for example, right?
yeah,
It doesn't, like, it's
Yeah, time moves
made at
differently.
the surface, right? And then it's at Earth. Like, there
Yeah.
is no distance between it.
oh, I know that.
Right?
I watched the universe.
Yeah, they're crazy. Light's crazy. So, yes, from an outside observer, it takes time. But to the individual getting hit by it, I don't know if it takes. It seems like it would be just like teleportation.
Well, blasters they don't shoot light; they shoot,
shoot
plasma.
plasma. I understand.
and it does take time to go. That's why you see it moving.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I don't know why they don't have like giant rail guns and that kind of stuff
I guess maybe
for blasters.
plasmas is more compact.
I think
Ammunition.
the ability to not have to reload is probably a big reason why.
Yeah, I think they do have to reload, but it takes a lot.
I don't know. I don't think they have to reload. I don't think that it reloading in the sense that we think.
Probably, maybe they have to be recharged after so long.
I'm betting that
you probably run
if
out of
you
plasma.
were at, I'm betting that if you were to use a stormtrooper's gun blaster, right, it would just be, oh, it's done firing after however long it takes to run out.
Yeah.
And you would just throw it and get another one.
Probably, or yeah, they probably have so
But
much.
they probably
They do
last
overheat, though.
for years.
They do overheat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's like in the games and stuff. Then you have to wait that time because they do have a bit of a drawback.
But they have minigun blasters.
Yeah, they're like multi-barreled, so they don't heat
Right.
like
That's what I'm
overheat.
saying. Like, you're shooting basically a continuous beam at that point.
Lots of little beams, yeah.
Right.
Effectively, yeah.
I mean, look at the roller droids in Attack of the
Beep, 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 beep. Yeah,
in the Clone Wars or whatever.
yeah. Not Phantom Menace and everything.
Phantom, yeah, right. Though, why do not they just not make those shoot a continuous beam? They might as well just swing a laser around in the air.
Weren't there just more lightsabers? Well, I guess kyber crystals. I get that.
Like, I always disliked General Grievous being beaten by Obi-Wan with 4 lightsabers to 1 lightsaber. It's like, how do you lose that? How do you not cut a leg off Obi-Wan and then just finish him off at your discretion?
The Force?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's got plot armor.
I mean, if I swing this way and this way,
You can only one at a time.
you can only get one of them.
Yeah, that never made sense. But I mean, it's plot armor. It's gotta happen.
I understand. I'm just saying, I could nitpick it forever.
Oh yeah, that's why I love why Star Wars is such a great movie. Is you can watch it and you can love it even if you nitpick stuff.
Right.
Because there's so many movies that are just terrible.
That's what I kind of like about Star Trek is a lot of the nitpicks the fandom has taken care of.
Yeah,
Like, this is how this works.
that's true. But it's also so good, and there's an overarching message in a lot of the episodes that you can just easily ignore that and not care about it.
Right. You can do both. But with Star Wars, once you start nitpicking, it just gets worse and worse and worse.
I think a lot of that's because there were so many different people working on so many different parts. Where Star Trek is kind of, aside from the original series, like Next Gen, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine, they came at different times, but they also overlapped a lot. So I think it was a lot of the same team working on it, so stuff could stay more consistent.
I don't know if that's the case with Star Trek.
I mean, they're all on the same network.
I understand. I'm just saying I don't know if those are the same, like, because Roddenberry only did 2 in one movie, right? Was it 1 movie or 2? Might have been 2 movies.
I can't remember exactly.
But it's not many.
But it's still under the same, I'd assume a lot of the same creative team leadership, whereas Star Wars, the first 3 were Lucas, and then Lucas kind of was there for the prequels, and then the new ones just are a mess of different directors.
Right, but that's... I think to enjoy Star Trek or want to work on Star Trek, you have to really enjoy Star Trek.
That you do.
I don't think that anybody who's 6 years old
is watching Star Trek
is going to grow unless they love Star Trek. They're not going to go, oh, I want to grow up and work on Star Trek. You know, Star Trek, at least for a lot of kids, in my experience, Star Trek is boring to them.
Oh yeah, I have one of Kim's friends. She's like, I won't. Aside from like, she's like, oh, Star Trek's boring. She won't watch it because she loves Star Wars. And there's like a rivalry there, and she's like, no, I won't watch it just because of that.
I really dislike that in the family. Like, you can like multiple things.
Yeah,
grow up.
And Star Trek is a lot of people who don't watch it think, oh, it's just TV Star Wars. But there's such a profound difference. It's so much more detailed and character driven.
I think it's more an examination of humanity as a whole on Star Trek, whereas Star Wars, at least for the most part, has just become flash.
I think
I don't think there's any examination of.
I think Star Wars is actually the more overall examination of everybody, where Star Trek is the examination of the individual.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. But I don't really see how, because I would like to say that Star Wars is the examination of how, you know, an authoritarian leadership rises to power, but it's not really that.
It's more of a subplot.
Not really, and it's not really examination of.
Well, it's the hero's journey.
What do people do with vast amount of powers? But and I get it, it's the hero's journey, which is absolutely valid.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that there's no examination of anything outside of, oh, this looks cool.
Yeah, especially with the prequels.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or, oh, this is... I don't think that they, like, Vader claiming to be, or letting Luke know that he's his father is the most emotional beat in the whole series, in my opinion. And it's there as a, like, almost a Shyamalan and twist, where it's like, oh my God.
The original
twist.
You
know what I'm saying? Where it's not an examination of a father and son dynamic. Before that. After that, it kind of becomes an examination of it because it's kind of forced into being an examination of it.
Yeah, it's more of a...
You know what I'm saying?
It's more of a... all of the first 3 are... It's all about Anakin. It really is.
What do you mean?
It's Anakin's innocence being taken away.
Are you talking prequel?
All the prequels, all the way to the end. It's right. Anakin's story. It's him being an innocent child,
right?
Growing up, getting power, not wanting to lose things.
That was retconned into it.
Yeah, I know.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But that's what it's become.
Star Trek, to me at least, seems to have a better overarching.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it was more consistent because of that reason.
Like, what would humanity be? Like, what would we have to be to get to that point? And what would we do once we were in those situations? even now, and that applies even now. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do we do when a new group of people rise up and say that they want rights and da-da-da-da-da, right?
Yeah. It might be, in 100 years or 200 years, you might look at Star Trek back then and go, oh, that's what we did when we saw aliens.
Right.
When they came to us.
Yep.
Or even, 2 years from now. Who knows?
Or 2 years ago. Who knows?
I hope.
You hope.
I want to believe. I want to believe.
My question is, where are they? I believe that there is life in other galaxies, other dimensions, or other planets, dimensions, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that life on Earth is a fluke.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not unique.
But I also think that the issue is getting past I can never remember the name of it. It starts with a K. But it's the scientist's theory about intelligent life.
Mm-hmm.
That at some point, intelligent life invents a way to destroy itself.
Yeah, it's that filter, the filter thing, yeah.
Yep. And I think it's really hard to get past that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of us would say that nuclear weapons was that point for us.
Mm-hmm.
We've only had them for 50 years. Are we really past that point yet? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. Probably not.
So, and the other question is to be able to traverse the stars.
Mm-hmm.
There's only a couple of ways to do it.
That we know of.
And both of them, or they all leave behind very, very unique evidence that we know how to look for.
See, I wonder with that is how long does that evidence last and have things come and gone already?
Well, take one of the ways of traversing the galaxies is self-replicating robots.
Yeah, you colonize little by little and you spread out.
Well, the thing with self-replicating robots is once you create self-replicating robots and send them out, they're everywhere. And you can't get rid of them easily.
Yeah.
So we would find evidence of that everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like the pyramid scheme thing, right? Where if you tell 7 people and they tell seven people, how many times can you do that?
Only so many.
You can only do it like 4 or 6 times before everybody on the planet is encompassed, right? Same thing with self-replicating robots. The first one makes 2, then 4, then 6 or 8, and then 16.
Yeah, it increases exponentially.
And that, before you know it, the numbers are so staggeringly large that they would just be everywhere.
Yeah. Also with that is resources for that too. And how long do they last? Will they make it to another star system? Can they? Because it's practical.
Like I said,
in theory, yes, yeah.
If there was something that could do it, it would be everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with like near light speed travel. Right? Distance no longer matters. Right?
Kind of. Because it's still, even at light speed.
I think the best example of it was in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. In the movie. Where they had the spaceship with the theoretical drive, or was it theoretical, or...
I think it was pretty hammered when I watched that movie. So.
Gosh, what was the name of the drive? It had to do with quantum, and it had to do with...
I know, quantum entanglement.
It's right on the tip of my tongue. As soon as I talk about something else, I'm going to get it.
Of course. I know quantum entanglement, there's the whole...
Probability drive.
Okay.
That was the name. And what it would do is if you wanted to go somewhere, you hit this button, and you ended up there, but the probabilities had to realign, right? So you would go, so the passengers of the ship would become a couch person and puppets and fish and whatever. They'd become all of these different things until the ship could align their probability back up to what they actually were when they started. Right? So if you were going to travel at close to light speed, right, when you slow down or when you get there, your time has to realign. Right? So if I travel 24 light years away, right? For me, no time passes.
Yeah.
For you, 24 years passes. So my time has to readjust to you, right?
Not necessarily.
In
But
a
I mean,
way,
in this way,
right?
in the way you're speaking, yeah, so that's how it worked.
So it would be aligning your probability, basically, right? And if you have that kind of technology, right, then either either it's something so advanced that we can't find it, or we don't recognize it, or it is something that doesn't exist.
See, what I think with that is civilizations come and go, and like every species has a finite lifespan. The more technology you have, you can extend that, but
Right.
we've only been here, our planet's only been here so many millions of years, and there might be a civilization that was 1 billion years ago that died out 100 million years ago, and that we would never have seen them. Even if they died out 10,000 years ago, we
Right.
never would have seen them.
Right, and that's a lot of the problem. Is at least with space travel, right? Is like take Star Trek going warp speed, right? When they look out to where they want to go, right? They're seeing it, however far back in the past that is.
Yeah.
So if they want to go to someplace that is 100 light years away, they're looking at it 100 years from what it is now.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe the hyperdrive's a better example of that than warp speed.
Yeah, I think a lot of warp speed stuff, if it was real, you'd have to map things out ahead of time.
Well, that's what the droids and the AIs and all that stuff are for.
But if for Star Trek, everything would probably have to be mapped out. But that's also why they have shields to not get hit by asteroids and things like that.
But here's another quit, right? So in Star Wars, hyperdrive, right, exists on ships, right?
Yeah.
And you step out of one dimension into another and then back into the dimension that you're left, right? Why in the heck aren't the Jedi using that? Why in the heck aren't the stormtroopers using that, where they can get shot at and they step out of our dimension and step back into our dimension, so that they can step between bullets and step between swings and all that kind of stuff?
I would assume it probably takes a lot of energy, and if you go into that, it might be like caustic to you. It might be you might have to have some shielding ships have to not be ripped apart. Like in Warhammer 40K, I don't know if you know anything about that.
Very, very little.
Their light speed travel is, at least humanity's, is through the warp. And it's like an immaterial plane. And there's ships that go into it, but there's also immaterial beings, chaos gods, things that if you're out there unshielded, they can
Same thing
take
as
your body,
Dungeons
corrupt
and
them.
Dragons between the different realms, basically.
There's things that can, maybe that's how it is with hyperspace, that would just tear you apart. Or
I would assume that if it exists, something is living there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's actually in Star Trek, too, in the subspace.
Oh, yeah, like Q and...
No, that's in real space. The subspace, it was in Voyager, I think it was. But there were beings in subspace that were abducting people and doing experiments on them, kind of, X-Files style.
Right.
And then they had to figure it out.
Well, Q is a higher dimensional being.
Kind of. He's just they're like very old, and their technology is so advanced, it's indistinguishable from being magic.
Right.
Because there's a Voyager episode, I know, reference Voyager, that's my favorite one, where Janeway and their crew go to the Q world and they fight the other Q, and their weapons just look like Western, like revolvers and things like that, or Civil War stuff, I think it was. And they're like, this is the closest thing your brain can process to this. But here's our weapons so you can fight our people. So they are material beings. They're just so advanced and they are effectively immortal.
Well, I
and
mean, if
omnipotent.
they were from a higher dimension or what have you,
Mm-hmm.
and they are that much smarter, I mean,
But they're not
how
from
do you know that they aren't?
they're not from a higher dimension. They're from our dimension, though, because there
I mean,
are
I'm just
extra.
saying.
Yeah. Well, they wouldn't need to be.
Well,
Because they would
that's
just be
where
from ours. Just very old.
this is why I love Rick and Morty. This is why you need to watch Rick and Morty, because it goes into questions about this kind of stuff. That if you are that much more advanced than everybody else, right? It gets very hard to determine whether or not that thing actually exists or not, right? Because, like, to us, a monkey exists, right? But to a monkey, outside of that interaction, do we exist?
Guess they wouldn't know. No.
Right.
By the same thing with us.
Like
we
leaving a
discover
pencil.
species.
Like James Goodall goes out and studies gorillas and leaves a pencil, right? The monkey doesn't even know, or the gorilla doesn't even know.
He doesn't know what that's for or what
It's
it is.
just a stick,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And that's what I'm saying about if there is creatures or beings that can travel through space in that manner, then we could run across their technology and we would have no idea.
That's true.
So, like, this whole, I think that's part of the problem with Bob Lazar's story, is that you wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even begin to comprehend how something works or what it is or what it's used for or any of that. You would just know that it's a thing.
Yeah.
You know, and even then, you probably wouldn't even be able to know that it was a non-naturally occurring thing.
Possibly, yeah.
Right? Because who knows what it had, like...
What properties it has, yeah.
Right.
Does it interact with light?
For example, when you're out in nature, one of the ways to tell if somebody else has been out there is that we move in straight lines for the most part, and we break things and da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, that's how tracking works.
Right? Well, if this thing is so far advanced, right, would it even exist in... I don't even think it would exist in...
Three-dimensional space, maybe?
In a manner that we would be able to figure out that it was made.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
Like, a lot of our science now is pushing back towards the natural world in a lot of things. Honeycomb designs for walls, storage containers, plastic-eating worms, da-da-da-da-da, right? That seems like that's a step on the technology train. Right? Is that you make things that are naturally occurring and biodegradable so that you don't destroy your planet through pollution. Right? Why wouldn't they make everything out of that?
That's true.
You know? So
there's a few civilizations like that I've in like fictional media that are like that.
Right.
It's like the Tyranids from Warhammer. Everything's biological,
right.
Just like the Zerg and StarCraft.
Yeah. I mean, it gets real crazy real fast with that kind of stuff.
And plus, I mean, nature's had millions of years to figure things out, trial and error. Why wouldn't you use shapes or designs or things?
Right.
Yeah,
that come from that.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think that's why Star Trek is a more interesting series, or the more interesting world to live in, is that you would constantly be running into things like that. And you would be able to actually humanity would just be starting to wrap their minds around that kind of stuff.
That's true. They have more godlike beings in Star Trek too. It's not just a Q. There was a couple like the original one when they found one of the Greek gods. I can't remember. I think it was Ares.
Yeah, when they went to the planet that everybody looked like they were Greek gods.
Yeah,
and
he was just effectively omnipotent on that planet.
Yep.
or one of the episodes where a guy was ascending to godhood. He became like a ethereal being, but they were killing them off if they got close to that transformation.
Right.
Their own people.
Yep. That's why I like it better.
Yeah, I do too. I there's so much I love. I love pretty much every Data episode. I love.
Oh yeah. The one about whether he's human or not, or should have the rights of a human or not. Oh,
Yeah.
One of the best episodes of TV media, I think, ever.
Probably one of the most emotional ones for me is when he makes his daughter.
Yeah.
And at the very end, he's like, I can't feel that. And she's like, I'll feel it for the both of us. You're like,
Oh, right on them heartstrings.
yep.
Damn it.
You're like, oh man, I got something in my eye.
Yep. But that's what. But I do like the spectacle of Star Wars. So if I'm going to be a lead character, Star Wars.
This is way flashier and cooler.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You get to be way more of a badass gunslinger, samurai.
Yeah, it's effectively a feudal / Western opera.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's where
Yeah,
George Lucas got all the ideas for it from.
pretty much.
Yeah.
A
Which
lot
I
of-
think makes Roddenberry the better creator than Lucas. Because Roddenberry basically came up with something original.
Pretty
Like
much.
there's
yeah.
a lot of tropes from that age in it. But that's because they were making TV.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
the
it's a
idea-
product of its time as far as
But
that
the
goes.
idea behind it is way bigger. Kind of like Doctor Who. Like the idea behind Doctor Who is way bigger.
Oh yeah. He's even Doctor Who himself is just one part of a vast universe of even people his
Even
technology.
people like him.
Yeah.
Yep.
They would be magical to us too.
Yeah. Yep.
So in a way, he's very unique and special, but also average at the same time, which is kind of cool.
Yep. We'll have to talk about that next time.
Yeah,
Doctor Who.
I'd really like to do a. Would you rather live in the Imperium of Man or anything in the war? I love Warhammer 40K. I'm really starting to get into it.
I really don't know much about it,
Oh, it's crazy.
but I know that it's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, but for sci-fi stuff.
Kind of, yeah. Because there's like space elves.
Well, I know
Eldar,
that's where the
basically.
game, because Warhammer started out as a game, right?
Yeah, it is.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, it was Warhammer Fantasy, and then 40K later came.
Right, and it started out as a spin-off from Dungeons and Dragons.
Probably.
There's some sci-fi type Dungeons and Dragons stuff that I think you'd be really into.
I've started. I'm so stretched thin with listening
I
to different
understand. Oh, yeah.
podcasts or YouTube channels on everything. I'm like, I want to know everything.
There's your next idea here. Warhammer 4,000.
40,000.
40,000, sorry.
Because the story of the Emperor Man is like ridiculous, and I'm like,
I'm saying do like the role-playing game for one of your shows.
oh, that'd be hard.
I don't know.
What takes tabletop things? It's not like
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons, but that stuff.
Dungeons and Dragons has that stuff too.
Yeah, but Warhammer
you don't
40K is fucking expensive.
Yeah.
It's expensive to get into.
I know a lot of guys that make their own Warhammer stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff for that, but the models, the official models are really. I mean, I can 3D print a bunch of stuff right now.
Oh yeah, so's the Dungeons and Dragons 3D models,
Yeah.
but you don't need the models to play Dungeons and Dragons.
No.
It just makes it
40,
better.
40K of the tabletop, you're supposed to use the official stuff.
Right. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But-
I mean, whatever.
Anything else? You ready?
No, nothing else I can
I
think
think
of
we
without
beat
going
the heck out
I
of
know.
Star Wars and Star Trek.
For now.
Yeah.
For now.
All
Yeah,
right.
all right,
Well, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
It's been a
You're
great time.
Always
as
welcome
usual.
on the podcast, yeah.
All right, and next time, and I will work on getting Arthur to do 40K tabletop.
Oh, man, that's so expensive. I don't know if I can get
Your
into it.
patrons can pay for it.
Yeah, if I got big enough to have Patreon. Well, if I had a big enough to be Patreon, I'd just do more of the movie stuff I want to do.
Yeah. Well, you can do both.
I
Big
guess.
enough to quit the real job. That's the
Hopefully, that's
idea.
the goal.
That's
Is
the
to
goal.
get big enough. Be Joe Rogan of nerd shit.
That's the way to do it, bud.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you later. Like, share, subscribe.